Welcome back, everyone. Sorry that it's been so long since I've done a video. Been really busy this summer, but I thought that this would be a great time to talk about it. So we've had a couple issues with our water heater. Noticed a drip coming from underneath this morning, or actually it was yesterday morning. So then I suspected a leak, so I opened up the undercarriage. I could hear what sounded like water spraying, so I was pretty worried about it. Opened it up, the floor was dry, nothing was really happening, but the shell that covers, so the styrofoam shell that goes around the water heater was actually blocking it. I was able to pull it out, and from hearing where the leak was, you could definitely tell there was something that happened. So when I cut back the insulation, there was a very tiny pinhole size leak that was spraying water out, and basically was causing the water pressure to drop, and then obviously a leak, and then the water was collecting and going down and dropping out. Luckily no water damage, I caught it in time, but obviously I have to fix this leak. So talk about what I did at first. So first went out and got Gorilla brand flex tape. It says it works really well. Taped it and put it over there, and that's kind of what this gray stuff is. Didn't hold. As soon as I turned the water back on, the water pressure from inside, even though it's only at 60 psi, and this is rated up to about 120, I believe, you could see that the water started coming through. It made like a bulge through the tape, and I knew it wasn't gonna hold, so I had to shut it down and retry again. Went over to the hardware store to see. I knew that there was gonna have some epoxy, so I went with the JB Weld. Let's see if we can get those in there. I went with a liquid epoxy, and then this is a mastic type that you have to like mold in your hand. I started with this one because it was the liquid, and it was set in 5 minutes, hardened fully to an hour. So I was like, well, let's try this one first. Did this one, worked well, like the mixing was fine, but I let it sit for an hour, turned back on that water, and within about 30 seconds, as I was watching it, I could see that the water started coming through again, and then it just flaked right off and it didn't hold. So I made sure I went with this because it says it works on fiberglass, PVC, copper, brass, iron, and aluminum. And I know that this tank is an aluminum tank. So then I was like, all right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try this epoxy stuff. It says it works underwater, and then that way I can kind of mold it into the pinhole. So I did that, and I let it actually sit overnight. This one says it'll set in 20 minutes. So it's fully pliable for 20 minutes, and then it'll set in an hour. So they're both an hour-long wait. But this time I decided I'm gonna let it sit overnight, and we'll see what happens. So I checked it after the first hour, and it was still very, like, kind of tacky, but you could tell it was hardened, but it was a little tacky on the outside. So I let it sit overnight, came out this morning, checked it, and it was like cement. It was fully like cured. I could definitely tell, like, okay, that one is good. And then just for safety, or just for added, I put some liquid. I mixed this up, and I went over the top of that again, and I let that sit for about 2 hours. I felt confident this is not tacky anymore, and just to prevent it in case it does break through, I'm probably going to put a little layer of this, because if the water comes through, the water won't spray on the inside. The tape will let it kind of drip through again down to the bottom, and I don't get everything wet in the basement. So that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be a temporary solution. Don't know how long it's going to hold. I definitely know now that there's one hole. I imagine that it's going to happen again. These they're not meant to be used as full-time and full of water all the time, which we are. Really mostly meant for a weekend getaway, fill it up with water, work it, drain it, and things like that. So I am working at our next upgrade. Will be they're not necessarily tankless, they're just hot water on demand unit. So that'll be what we do on the upgrade. So we have a video there, we'll surely upload it. I wanted to share what we did, some tips and tricks that we did to fix the pinhole type. And so far, this is on. I've got it heating up right now, full water pressure. It's been about now 40 minutes, and I've been watching it. I haven't seen any water leaking through it, so I'm pretty confident that this is gonna hold. Keep you guys on an update later on, how long it worked and lasted, and the update on the tankless. So we'll see you later.